Today I thought we would do a quick and simple video where we go over some different treats for chickens and enrichment items for them. This is going to be real straightforward and to the point. I have some other chicken videos that go over similar topics that I've made in the past, and I'm actually planning on making a more in-depth one this spring. But for now, I'm going to show you some different enrichment treats for them to enjoy during the winter. First, we're going to head over to the feed store, and I'm going to show you some different things you can get there. We'll go over those, and then we'll come back here, and I'll show off some of those products for you. Okay, so while we were at the store, you saw some of the dried bugs that you can get for your chickens to eat, and they really, really love those. But you can also give them live bugs. You can find these at most pet stores or feed stores. If I'm being honest, I absolutely hate bugs. I don't like handling them, so I don't do this too often, but for the sake of the video, and because I know the chickens will really like this, I picked up some superworms from the pet store. These are live ones. They're very similar to mealworms, but they're a lot larger, so yeah, I really don't like them. But the chickens go absolutely crazy for them, and they really like that they're alive and wiggling and moving around because that just triggers their natural instinct. Chickens are predators. At the end of the day, they're basically like little dinosaurs, so they really do love the thrill of the chase sometimes. I use these big tweezers to pick them up because, like I said, I do not like handling the bugs. And I just drop them for them. She's looking for more. So yeah, you can see how quickly they go. And it's kind of entertaining because one takes one and then takes off with it and the others will run after her. This is honestly probably one of their favorite things ever. You can also get live mealworms at the store as well, but the superworms are just easier to feed because they're larger. And these worms were all captively raised for pets consumption, mainly for reptiles, but I mean, hey, birds can eat them too, of course. Okay, well that was a little chaotic, but hey, they had a blast, so let's move on to the next one. So the next one is suet. This one, technically you can give it to them any time of the year, but during the winter it's especially good because since it's cold and it's windy and usually there's snow, they have to work harder to stay warm and to keep their energy up. And suet is made of beef fat, sunflower seeds. This one actually has mixed seeds too, and it has some cracked corn in it. And some suet varieties you can find with mealworms in it as well. And it's just really, really packed with protein and carbohydrates, so it'll help them keep their energy up. You can give it to them just like this, however, it will go faster if you just put it out like that. So what you can also do is buy a suet cage to put it in, which I have hanging up in here. And that way they have to peck through the little holes. So one, it's good because it'll keep the suet clean in case they accidentally knock it out of here onto the floor. Putting it in the cage will protect it from that happening so it won't get muddy. And then since they have to peck through the little holes to get through it, it will last a lot longer. And it'll give them something to do, something to think about, because they have to, you know, figure out how to get it through the little holes instead of just eating it right out of the dish. Oh no, they're surrounding me. This is hard to do with one hand. Okay, finally. So as you can see, they love it. I'm gonna hang a couple of these in here so that way they don't crowd each other when they do it. But they've had this before, so they go right to it. They know the drill. They love it. Keeps them occupied for a long time. This is not something that I would give them on a daily basis because you don't want them to get overweight. That's not good for anyone. Just give it to them as an occasional snack, especially on really cold nights. There's the salmon daddies always off doing their own thing. Oh, for the record, if you ever hear me calling those two the salmon daddies, I know that they're hens. They're females. They're not daddies. But it's an inside joke that just never went away. So their nickname is the salmon daddies. And it's really funny because these two, even though they have all these friends over here, ever since the beginning of time when they were just little chicks, they've only ever cared about each other. They do everything together. They sleep together every night on the same roost. They eat their snacks together. They eat their food together. They drink together. Literally everything you can think of, they're always side by side. It's really cute. Back to enrichment items and snacks for chickens. I have talked about this before in other videos. This is a little bird feeder I hung up in here, and I mix grit and oyster shell in it. If you're new to chickens, the grit, hey, stop pecking her, don't be a bully. The grit is basically little stones that chickens eat to help them digest their food better because they swallow their food whole. So when they swallow the stones or the grit, it helps break everything up and they can digest it easier. The oyster shell is to help provide extra calcium for them. And since it's whole pieces of it right there, it stays in their digestive tract a little bit longer. It stays in their system longer, providing calcium to them longer. So it's a good method to give it to them that way as well because their layer feed has calcium in it. But when you supplement this way, like I said, with the whole pieces, it stays in their system longer and gives them that extra little boost that they need when they're laying eggs. I also have this treat ball. It's a little bit faded from being in the sun, but it still works just fine. And it's designed so that you can put lettuce and different vegetables in here and they have to peck to try to get it out of there. I'm not going to fill it up right now because I have other videos of them playing with it, and plus I don't want to overload them on treats for today. Look at her, she's like, you better fill that up. But yeah, it's really simple, it's easy to fill up, and it keeps them occupied, and it actually did take them quite a while to get all the lettuce out of this, so they really liked it. And like I said, once we hit spring, I'm going to do a more in-depth video of different kinds of enrichment activities and snacks for your birds. So stay tuned for that. But a little sneak peek for when that one comes, I do always plant different lettuce hanging baskets, edible flowers for them, and little herb arrangements in their enclosure. So I do have a video that touches on that somewhat, and I briefly show it in a lot of my other chicken videos that I already have up on my channel. But like I said, I will make a full video on that once spring comes. Oh, and one more thing I just briefly wanted to touch on. You can see it's extremely muddy. If you saw last week's video, we got a ton of snow. Well, for some reason, it decided to be like 70 degrees the past 2 days, and it all melted and turned to mud, and it is a complete mess everywhere. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. So bear with me here. It drives me crazy. But that does lead me into the next thing I wanted to talk about. This isn't a treat, but it does go along the lines of enrichment. I put lots of different roosting areas or perches in their enclosure so that way when it is muddy, they have something dry to get on. And plus, it's natural for birds to roost anyway. It makes them feel safe to be off of the ground. So you can set up something like this. They also have their bench, which is covered in mud, as I was saying. But of course, that's just temporary. We're going to get a lot of rain again this weekend, and then once it starts to dry out, I'm going to clean up. As much as I can, of course. There's only so much you can do when it comes to that. And then once spring hits, I'm going to fill this whole thing with fresh mulch again, and it's going to look really nice. But back to the treats. So I talked about this in several of my videos, so I'll be really quick about it because I don't want to sound like a broken record. But if you're new here, this will help you out. So I give my chickens a treat. It's called Scratch. You can go to your feed store and you can buy Scratch already made. But I prefer to mix it myself just because I add some extra things in it. So basically it's different kinds of grains, corn, sunflower seeds, safflower seeds, which are the little white ones, and different kinds of dried bugs. I also like to mix flax seeds in because flax seeds have numerous health benefits. And I have heard that if your chickens eat that and then you eat their eggs, the eggs become healthier for you. Which makes sense. A healthy bird equals healthy eggs, so everyone wins. Now, this is a video about treats, so that's why I'm talking about so many different kinds, but keep in mind you don't want to load them up on treats every single day. You want to keep it to a minimum, because one, like I said earlier, you don't want your birds to become overweight, because then they can run into a slew of health issues, and it can also affect their egg production. And also, you don't want them to become too spoiled. I've had so many customers come into the store that I manage and tell me that their chickens don't want to eat their chicken feed anymore, and then they just start buying Scratch to feed them. And I'm always like, whoa, hold up, you can't do that. You can't give in to them. That would be like if you allow your kid to eat cookies for every single meal. That wouldn't be healthy. They won't live a long, healthy life if you do that. Sometimes they need tough love, and you got to take away the treats if they become that spoiled, and just give them feed. If they get hungry enough, they'll eat the layer feed again. And then slowly you can start giving them small amounts of occasional treats. I've never run into the issue of my chickens being that picky. And I think it's because I've always just kept the treats to a minimum and I stick to a routine. So since I've done it that way, I've never run into an issue with mine. If you start running into that issue yourself, then you know, hey, maybe I'm giving them too many treats. I need to back off a little bit, wean them off of that, and then you can start again once they're eating their layer feed regularly. But like I said, I've not encountered that. So anyways, back to more treat options. So this is the Hentastic chicken treat. It's made with mealworms and oregano. This treat is rich in antioxidants and vitamins A, B, and C. It's actually pretty protein rich too. And again, it's just a treat. Don't give it to them all the time, but it's a nice healthy option for when you do want to give them an occasional treat. Treats are really nice because not only do they encourage your birds to use their natural foraging instincts, because you can scatter treats around, you can hide them, you can put them in different foraging toys or treat balls like I showed you earlier. So that really encourages their instinct because chickens are designed to be looking for feed all day long. And contrary to what some people may think, chickens are actually highly intelligent animals, which makes sense because if you think about it, birds as a species are very intelligent. So it's good to keep them occupied and to give them some different things in their diet instead of just one plain old thing every single day. They would get bored with that. So occasional treats come in handy for enrichment purposes for that, but they also help because you can tame your birds with it. They'll become really friendly if they learn to eat treats out of your hand, and if you free range your birds, you can train them to come to you at night when you're ready to put them away in the coop. We had an escapee. So they always try to follow me everywhere, so honestly I don't think she would have gone far. I think she was just trying to go to the shed with me. But back in the day when Lark was just a young bird, she was not friendly, and I would not have been able to catch her this easily. But it's weird, now that she's more mature, she's very friendly, so that lucked out. Okay, you guys better not imitate what she just did. Okay, anyways, don't do that again. So here is yet another treat option we're going to talk about, just so you can learn all about some different options that are out there. This is called Grub Frenzy. They've had this before, as you can tell. They really enjoy it. So this same brand also has dried mealworms, and I believe dried crickets too, and a dried mix of several different kinds of bugs that you can get. This is the black soldier fly larva, freeze-dried, and black soldier fly larva is high in protein, and it's actually higher in calcium than the mealworms are. So this is a really, really great option for hens that are laying eggs, because obviously if a chicken's laying eggs, they're going to need more calcium in their diet. And you can see that they approve. Here's another one. This one's by Purina, and for the record, none of these treat companies sponsor me, although I wouldn't mind if they did, but they don't. These are just my honest reviews. So this one has the black soldier fly larva in it. It has peas, pumpkin seeds, wheat. It has a high protein nugget that they formulated, safflower seeds, and papaya. It's an 18% protein, and you can see a nice variety of different things in there. Look at that. It looks like trail mix. Although I wouldn't eat it. But these girls would. So I'm not going to give them anything else because, like I said earlier, they've had enough treats for today. But I felt kind of bad, like I was teasing them by showing them these bags. So I'll give them just a little taste and then we'll move right along. Oh, and earlier, when Larkspur here tried to escape, I wasn't too worried about it because I knew she was most likely just going to follow me to the shed. But if you ever have a chicken escape, don't panic. I know you might feel panicked at first because you don't want them to get lost or get hurt or get eaten by another animal. It is a scary feeling. Even though I was confident she wasn't going to fly away on me, bolt out of here, I still was worried, if I'm being honest. But I didn't panic. I stayed calm. I didn't make any sudden movements because they are prey animals. So even if they know you and love you and trust you, if you start panicking and running all around and grabbing for them, it's going to startle them and their natural instinct is going to tell them to run and to get somewhere high up away from you. So stay calm, get down slowly to their level, and really, really slowly move your hand over them. Once you're confident, you can grab them quickly, but don't make any sudden movements until you actually are going in to grab them. There's never any need to panic because that won't solve anything. It'll just spook your animal. Another thing that you can give your chickens as a treat, if you have an abundance of eggs, or if you have an egg that's dirty and you don't want to deal with it, this is a great thing to do. So you can feed your chickens scrambled eggs, and it's a great source of protein, so it's really, really good for in the winter, or especially when they're molting, because when they're molting, they need more protein in their diet to grow their feathers back quickly. And they love scrambled eggs. They go crazy for it. I make scrambled eggs for my chickens. Of course, I leave salt, pepper, I leave all the seasonings out. But I make the eggs for them. I use warm water or a little bit of cottage cheese or a little bit of Greek yogurt to mix in it. I cook it up. Sometimes I sprinkle flax seeds or herbs on top. And then if I have clean eggshells, I'm not going to do this with a disgusting eggshell, but if I have clean ones, I will also break up the eggshells to mix into their scrambled eggs as well and feed it back to them so they have it for calcium. And, you know, it's getting heated up and everything, so that kills all the germs. And they really enjoy it, so that's another treat that you can give your chickens that's also healthy for them. And then one more thing, I'll just show you this very, very briefly. I'll insert a clip, but I have a whole video on how I did this from last week, so make sure you check that one out if you want to learn more about it. But you can also get different kinds of grains and seeds. Stop being a bully. And you can sprout it for your chickens, and it's really, really simple, it's fun, and it's actually a pretty quick process too. So you can make them sprouts, or if you want it to grow longer, it becomes fodder, technically. So you can give them sprouts or fodder. And I did that last week, like I said, and they went crazy for it. So here's some clips from that. And I will leave a link to that video in the description in case you want to learn more about how to make that. When you create sprouts or fodder from the grains, it makes it easier for the chickens to digest. It is actually a lot more rich in nutrients. It has more vitamins and minerals in it when you sprout it. And it's something different for them, especially in the dead of winter. They love having those fresh greens. So I didn't want this video to go too long. There's a lot of other options out there for treats and enrichment ideas, and I'm definitely going to make more videos on this in the future. So make sure you subscribe, and before we know it, it's going to be spring and chick season will be here. So you're not going to want to miss out on that either.